All right, cyber traders, just about that time here. This 2:30 p.m. Eastern, December 14th. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Great to see Ray and Tim still with us here, as well as Mark, Ravina, perhaps a bunch of us rejoining us now after 2 p.m. The Fed meeting ended up concluding just a bit earlier. We'll talk all about that here coming up. Great to see Jeff, Michael, Ron, Brian, all saying loud and clear, all saying hi. Great to see all of them. Great to have all of us back on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube. There's a lot to talk about, right? SPY, S&P, NASDAQ, the Dow, all of which ended up just plunging after 2 p.m. FOMC meeting just concluded, as I had said. Actually, as I always like to say on Fed days, I have a little competition right now. We have Jerome Powell coming up to speak at 2:30 right now, present time. So we'll probably get another reaction out of the market momentarily as he gives his remarks. I've been instructed, actually, from Fausto to say that Jerome Powell, at least from Fausto's, head, and same here. I agree with him. This guy talks too much trash. Every time he comes on the mic after a Fed meeting or on a random morning, like when you don't expect him, he just pops up suddenly and starts talking a lot of smack about the future and high inflation, slow job market. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Not in the sense of like his knowledge, but man, every time we end up getting a sliver of hope to see a nice push back up, on a mid to high time frame, he just comes on. He just opens his mouth. Next thing you know, market plunges. So, with that, we'll see what's ahead taking us into the close. I wouldn't imagine a retracement back up. I wouldn't expect for there to be any dead cat bounce. I mean, unless if he totally flips script. Here we go. The first of a couple of headlines coming in from his press conference right now. Fed's Powell says that we've covered a lot of ground. Full effects of tightening yet to be felt. All right. We'll see. Probably plenty more of that coming up here. But nonetheless, though, the Fed ended up raising the interest rates, 50 basis points. So that was the big headline that came out that led to the drop-off. Another one coming in right now as I'm talking. Fed's Powell says that we expect ongoing hikes as appropriate to get sufficiently restrictive. Again, a lot more of these little blurbs coming out over time. But with that, though, not everything is going to drop off with the market. And hell, if there is a drop off coming up here, then we're going to find continuation on some good shorts. I was mentioning a moment ago, I was looking for NEO, one of my sideless stocks, to make a move down to 12. We'll talk about that here coming up. What's on the screen, at least here, the GRTS. So this is also another stock that actually made a really strong push after the Fed meeting concluded. Ended up just beginning to make a nice squeeze back up to the level you see there off 363, 364. This was more good timing, right? I was just kind of scanning around. I'm actually flying back to New York later on this evening. I'm trying to pack all my stuff together. And, hey, sometimes you tend to miss a pop or two, right? Well, I think that we harp too much on that because every now and then, actually a little bit more often than that, but, a decent amount of the time, actually, you'll kind of walk right into a perfect setup. And here, this was squeezing up. I had it up on my level 4. I saw the level 363 there. I was like, all right, right away. And so I wrote it in the chat board, and it's been doing us really well since. It'd be a good time to take half the trade out, I'd say, or at least scale out and hope to see this make higher lows later on with a run up towards 4. But yeah, GRTS easily I'll put on our list just to begin. Hey, if the markets end up tanking, not everything is going to go with it. There could be some stocks that go against the grain. Oh, there we go. There we go. Right on cue, folks. Right on cue. Look at that. Big drop on the SPY right now. That just happened over the last 1 minute bar. It's a 5-minute chart, but within the last 30 to 60 seconds, there's your next big break. All right, so a couple more headlines coming in briefly as I take a sip of water. Fed's Powell says higher rates also weighing on business fixed investments. Labor market still extremely tight. Although job vacancies are down from earlier in the year, the labor market is still out of balance. Again, another headline. Fed's Powell says activity in housing has weakened significantly. I think that's a more prominent headline, I think. But nonetheless, though, I mean, just follow the trend, folks. Follow the smart money. I may as well jump to my NEO trade now at this point because this just hit 12 right away. I wasn't expecting as sharp of a drop right out the gate. I thought it would come at some point, but hey, I was calling it a moment ago, folks. Right off of 12.20, I was saying to you, I was looking for NEO to get closer to that 12 level. It was just a setup the last few trading days. never tested 12 these days. It just kind of hovered right above it. So I'm thinking with lower highs, we should get the lower low, the test of that level. And since it has been doing us really well, this could be a good stock to put on our watch list. Maybe by the end of this meeting, there could be more that's down percentage wise, making a sharper move than this. But, hey, for Grant, Michael, Lewis, Ray, Leda, Kathleen, all of us inside the live trading room, I love Neo. So, I called it out earlier. Obviously made the drop down at 12 at this point. So, maybe I'll put this on our watch list just by the end of it all. Definitely a good side list stock, but we'll see what else is out there. Now, with that in mind, though, we do have the GRTS trade still holding strong, even with this last drop within the market. Let's see what else we got. We'll go from top to bottom. So, VLON, cheapy. I'm going to skip over it, actually. That leads me to the RNA trade. RNA ended up having this big pop after the market opened up. Had some activity in pre-market, but it was more after the open. You could see some fibs I threw up there from bottom to top. So let me zoom in on that actually pretty quickly because these have played out exceptionally well. Actually, I should say from even earlier. After it topped off from 21 plus, ended up pulling back. I was late to where I wanted to get in from. I was gunning for the short off a false breakout. Well, this made the perfect play. I saw a Rich Raid in the chat board that it broke above 19. And the second I turned over to it, it was already back below 19. So, I was late to that. But once it ended up breaking below here, it ended up continuing. It led to a really nice, steady drop off. And hey, left some money on the table with that in mind, too, as I still continued to drop down to the 61.8. But for right now, the RNA trade still very tradable, trading a lot of volume per minute, nearly 80,000 shares per minute. Even if that number wanes off, that's a decent chunk. But yeah, for right now, these levels are holding pretty well, 1750-ish. That should be a pretty strong level ahead right now as support. Just given the volatility, I'll put it on our watch list, but this is not like a level one stock. This is not a stock for new students to try and get their hands on. It's got a bit of a spread, pretty thin volume out there on the book. So it's level 4 trade, I'd say, and up. But, just, hey, for you folks out there, it's still tradable. All right, so we got a couple of cheapies here. Didn't mean to click on these, actually. So we'll jump to the IMMX stock. It's trying to get back from the 191 level I think we talked about from pre-market this morning. But aside from that, this run's pretty much done. Ended up making its move more from pre-market from into the open. Topped off right over 250. Lower highs, broke below the VWAP there. Made a huge shake below it there prior to 12 o'clock. And that was, it was over for this trade before that point. But obviously, once it smashes below this as support, you're led to believe it's just going to flatten out and drop off, which is exactly what it did. All right, we got Sissy here. SISI ended up making another pop here once again this morning, even heading into the afternoon, broke a new high. It's made a beautiful rounded top, so I feel like that's kind of easy to see on the eyes. This run might be done for right now, so I'll put this on our side list, come back to it if we need to. Market's trying to bounce a little bit right now. It might be a little consolidation now, taking us into like 330, for the next hour or so. Would not shock me whatsoever to see any flatness, consolidation. And then by 330, see a little bit more traction out there. WVE, another stock from yesterday, ended up having a pop off low volume. And then this morning led to another pop, and the order book was even thinner. So right now, it doesn't look too good. I'm going to pass on here. There we go. What else we got? Yeah, WNW. It's trading under 1 million shares. Unless if it was looking really strong or the order book really tight. But we'll pass on this too. I feel like we're going to pass on a lot on the gainer side, folks. Obviously, market's down right now. So there's going to be a lot more on the loser side as a short ahead, like the Neo trade we referenced before. But we got to start from the gainer side. I didn't mean to click on this. MULN, cheapy, actually a stock that we are pretty familiar with. Interesting that out of all stocks, this is making a move with the GRTS, but I'm going to pass on this. Normally, stock below $1, we're not going to focus on. Now, this is definitely something I'm led to believe would be moving up with the markets pulling back. I know that this has dropped off the last few trading days, whereas Boyle and UNG natural gas ETFs were running up. Well, hey, just given how volatile the whole sector is, it's not surprising to see this up 17%, now going the other way back up as the others are probably on the loser side. But yeah, cold, KOLD. ETF though, so unless if you have level 4, I wouldn't look to trade it. So if you have level 4 book map, then it'll be a lot easier for you to focus on where the big money is. It's just really difficult to apply regular level 3 to an ETF. We always say that. So speaking of ETFs, may as well get to it. Should have started on this for the most part, right? UVXY. So this obviously is going to be squeezing up as the markets were breaking lower. So yeah, for right now, it's going to be hard to ignore this one too. UVXY. We're not going to go on every ETF. Those are the only two I'll really look at for right now. But that's all we need. So for right now, let's see if there's anything else looking good from the gainer side. I saw Moderna still up big today. That had like a 25% pop yesterday. So once again, squeezing on up towards 216, 217, that is. Yeah, I mean, just otherwise too expensive. Little too expensive for our liking. Bloom Energy, a little shaky there. Array, same deal. Oh, we got Plug also up big still. I forgot about that. That one's trying to go back up for right now. So speaking of sideless stocks, at least, we were looking at Neo before. Hey, Plug definitely could be a stock we could slip on our main list. Still up that 7.5%. So, we'll see what this does. I don't mind throwing this on there. Rent, RENT, not much happening on that one now. Got you, same there. All right. I think that's going to wrap up the gainer side, folks. I think we got the frog out the throat too there. My apologies. Let's hop over to the loser side right now, seeing if there's anything just as good, if not better. There we go. We got the MLGO. I mean, this is more of a gamble stock than anything, because given how much this pumped and dumped just yesterday alone, from 5 up to 70 and a round trip back down even lower. And now this thing's at like $3 basically. So, is it going to pop up at some point throughout this week? Maybe. And will it get called out at that point once it has a lot better traction? I'm sure. But right now, looking at this thing, there's a lot better trades out there right now than this stock. If it ends up popping, then it will catch your interest. And then at that point, we'll think, hey, maybe there could be a lot more given the range that the stock has had recently. All right. Let's see. Any more like name brand stocks down big maybe? I know Affirm was a great short that we caught yesterday. That was a really good one. Nothing really looking like a name brand, familiar name from the loser side. I mean, there's got to be a lot that's down. So let's take a look right now. AFRM, held the 12 level. We talked about that yesterday. Dropped off pretty sharply. This could easily be a stock for us to keep our eyes on for right now. Let me just go through the rest of them. American Airlines, a little slow there, a little too liquid. I feel like maybe like an NCLH would be a better air cruise stock to focus on. Hey, the Neo trade squeezing back up right now. So that did hold 12 really well. It looks like we're getting a bit of a bounce back up, at least from that last drop on the S&P. But, for right now, Neo, Affirm, those wouldn't be too bad ones to at least look at. Let me just see if there's anything else otherwise that's like better direction altogether. Check Benzinga Pro here. Familiar name. I don't know how the chart looks. Tops. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily at the high, so I'm going to pass on that. Elizabeth here in the chat board with DocuSign, DOCU. If you're into the more expensive stocks, then, it's moving around for you. It's trading decent volume per minute. So, I don't mind it. But maybe a Carvana. Carvana from earlier had a big pump, in the morning that I personally missed out on. Hey, it's breaking back above the VWAP right now. This obviously a lot cheaper, but not only that, I mean, much more liquid, a lot safer to trade in that regard. It's funny. I got off a call with a student earlier, a relatively new student of CTU. So they're going to obviously learn the more that they're with us and see what we do, why we're making these call outs the way we are. Carvana is not like a strong company fundamentally, folks. I want you to know that I know that. We're day trading this stock. We're not holding it overnight. So I know there's a big difference in psyche between, swing trading a stock and day trading. Obviously, we're going to continue that discussion on Friday afternoon with the Swing Trading Pro course. We're going to talk all about following the big money in that class exactly. So we're going to start to get into the meat and potatoes there, really. But yeah, Carvana is a day trade as an opportunity. I mean, hey, if the markets end up holding here and dropping back down, then, I'm not going to expect for that to be a great trade, because if you can't short it, then there's no real movement otherwise. But if the markets tend to make a bit of a bounce, perhaps, then should this squeeze back over the VWAP, this could be a pretty nice play. So in terms of a potential setup, more speculation, I'll put this on our main list kind of towards the bottom. The NEO trade I'll keep on the side. Nothing too great right now about that just yet. I like the Affirm a little bit more than NEO. It's been a little bit sharp of a drop at first. I'll put this on our main list too. Carvana and Affirm, I feel. Those two. Maybe I jump back on NEO after we finish up this meeting, but that's just me. I think these two are actually a little bit better for right now. So. All right, so for all of us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, let me know if there's anything else up, down, left, right, more than 5%. Otherwise, I'm going to type my email here early in the chat board for all of you folks. I always like to do that at the end of these streams. Any questions that you folks have, always feel free to shoot over a quick email. josh@ctutrading.com is my email. Otherwise, if you're interested in joining our live trading room, just go right down to the link on the yellow banner below the stream to get yourself set up. Got a couple more from the gainer side. Maybe we'll just take a look at CABA, CABA. The order book is too thin, though. Not a fan of that. It's at the highs, granted, but in game, I'd called this out earlier, actually, so I forgot about this one briefly. But yeah, it's a mess right now. Not much happening on this trade just yet. Ron says to pack a warm jacket. Yeah, tell me I am not looking forward. Looking forward to seeing family. Let's put it that way. Got Hanukkah coming up. Love it. Not necessarily ready to go back to sub 30-degree weather. So, yeah, I'm going to be packing some sweatpants and a couple of different jackets there, Ron. I appreciate it. All right, folks, I think that's going to wrap it up for me here, though. So with that in mind, I will be back online tomorrow morning, though, at least for all of us inside the live trading room. I'm going to be working from the office, at least at that point. So, you're going to have me here. But otherwise, though, for all of us in social media, though, best of luck trading for you folks, taking you into the market close. Rich will be on the mic, at least for all of us inside the live trading room, at least at 3 p.m. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.